We're very pleased to have Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, Minister of State, with us for this fireside chat. As we begin, it's very timely to have this discussion as both the Indian and the UK advanced manufacturing sectors are entering a major investment cycle. The UK's manufacturing sector, the 8th largest in the world, is showing signs of growth, supported by the 4.5 billion funding in the recently announced Advanced Manufacturing Plan by the UK government. The Indian manufacturing sector is at the cusp of significant growth and is witnessing large domestic and foreign interests supported by robust policy framework such as the Atmanirbhar Self-Reliance Initiative and the various product-linked incentive schemes. Many thanks for your participation today, today's chat. It's an excellent opportunity for us to listen to some of the best UK engineering and manufacturing companies who are operating in India, especially in Tamil Nadu, about areas where the two industries, companies from two countries can work together and explore new partnerships to deepen, strengthen, and widen the existing links. I'd now like to introduce the panel members for today's session as we bring up Sridevi. She represents TWI, the regional manager from TWI India. Second is Senthil, who is a country director for Rotork Controls in India. As the Indian manufacturing sector is adding scale and size, moving up the value chain and expanding its global footprint through both organic and inorganic expansions, it will need a wide range of technologies, skills and expertise and global partnerships. It will be very good to hear from two representatives of two UK companies who are present here in India. I'd now like to begin with Sridevi. Could you share what TWI India does and how businesses in India, your business in India adds value to the UK parent?
Thank you, Sujith. First of all, thanks for inviting us to be part of this fireside chat. Well, let me begin with a well-known saying, Parivartanameva sthitimasti, meaning change is the only constant. Though this saying applies is commonly applied to life and universe, this is pertinent to the ever-evolving technology, which also creates a need for skill development in today's world. So skill development is the main focal point for TWI India, where we provide internationally recognized training courses in specific domains such as painting, coating, non-destructive testing, and metal joining technologies such as welding. So our programs mainly cater to various key industrial sectors such as oil and gas, power, manufacturing.
Thank you. Would you be able to share a little bit about TWI in the UK?
Yeah, I'll just add to that. Just one more point I want to add. So TWI India is a proud member company of TWI UK Limited, and we are a wholly owned subsidiary of TWI UK Limited in India. Our parent company is situated on the outskirts of Cambridge, and which is the leading welding technology there, and which also offers inspection-related training services in the UK. We have trained around 25,000 candidates. We train 25,000 candidates annually, and TWI India since inception has trained around 30,000 plus candidates in all these areas. Most of which, like around 3,000, are added every year to this list from India. So in India, it will be predominant to note that many of our candidates get placed, they get employed abroad, and they add value to the Indian economy in many ways. So being the parent company in the UK and having a business in India, we get access to various local resources. We can transfer back, facilitates technology transfer from India, and it also adds a value to the Indian economy here. Yes.
Thank you, Sridevi. Senthil, before I start off with you, would you be just able to introduce Rotork here in India and your UK parent?
Thanks again for the opportunity. So Rotork is a British engineering company with over 6 decades of existence, headquartered in the historical city Bath. And we have been in India as a joint venture for more than 40 years. In the last 15 years as a wholly owned subsidiary of Rotork. And we have 3 manufacturing facilities in India, 2 in Chennai and 1 in Electronic City, Bangalore. We are one of the largest mission critical flow control actuation company, close to $1 billion revenue globally. And in India, we're doing about 500 crores with about 400 people operating in the Indian market. So that's pretty much about Rotork. And we are listed in the London Stock Exchange and the top 100 traded companies in the UK.
Okay, thank you, Senthil. I'll just begin off. With UK and India's plan to achieve net zero by 2050 and 2070, we see the manufacturing industries in both countries are progressing on the decarbonization pathway with a mix of strategies. What are the key decarbonization strategies for Rotork India?
So that sits at the very top of our strategy, which is our purpose. Our purpose, it's good to start with our purpose statement here because it's to keep the world flowing, because we are in the flow controls business for the future generations. So that's a new add-on we've brought into our purpose about 5 years ago, because we're talking about not just sustainability, or decarbonization, but ESG as a whole. And even our the multi-year strategy that we have just brought in a couple of years ago talks about growth plus. Growth is the usual, the revenue growth and the profitability growth and things like that. But the plus element talks about the ESG component. So coming into the timelines, we have taken an ambitious target for achieving a net zero by 2045. And again, we are not differentiating our business by various regions or countries. We are trying to, implement all across, achieving a net zero in the scope 3 by 2045, based on science-based targets. And in terms of the scope 1, which is under direct control, we are trying to target a net zero by 2035. So we have put a very ambitious targets ahead of us, and we are in that growth journey. Talking of what we do in India, so the first and foremost is we are able to monitor and measure our emissions in the scope 1 today. When I talk to a lot of our peer groups and our customers and suppliers, a lot of them are not yet aware of what emissions they bring into the atmosphere. Today we know what we do, and we already put a target to minimize this by about 10% year on year. I can even tell you the tons of carbon dioxide we emit every year. So we done about 320,000 tons of carbon dioxide last year, and we just have our results, for 2023, we have almost about 8% less. So as a company, we want to achieve net zero in the scope 1 by 2020 and scope 1 and 2 by 2035. So that's a very ambitious plan. A lot of the initiatives, even our fleet policy, the company-owned vehicles, we have to use an electric car, or being in India, you don't have much access to, EVs. So we have to use ultra low emitting vehicles, which kind of has less than half of the usual emissions. So we are being very mindful of every aspects of our business, including the work from home option. The COVID has brought us, the flexibility of working from home. We have seen the productivity has not dropped in. We are one of the very few engineering companies doing a 3-2 work from home even today. And we think we will continue this going into the future, because we have a lot of these elements really adding, like our air conditioning in the office. We also have a SCADA system to control the air temperature. Like, we got a constant temperature sensors and LED lights and a lot of these things, energy audits, the heat reduction in our manufacturing process. So we do a number of things. I think we are quite ahead of a lot of the Indian peers in terms of hitting our sustainability targets.
Okay, thanks, Senthil. To come back to you, Sridevi, TWI has its only training center in India based in Chennai. Why did TWI decide to set up in Chennai?
Okay, my brief response is that there is no reason to say that we should not have an office in Chennai. And objectively, here we have great access to resources. And Tamil Nadu as a state is one among top 3 with ease of doing business. So a couple of weeks back, I read somewhere that we are top 3, one among the top 3 in wind energy capacity, where Chennai, in a minute, they manufacture 3 cars, and in they manufacture about 6 motorbikes every second. So these are just numbers. And we have a good regulatory environment here in Tamil Nadu state. And we have a very good industrial academia collaboration, which again the state offers, and we get benefited out of that. We have a very close vicinity to ports. This infuse a lot of opportunities, and it also helps in benefiting out of the socio-economic environment. So that these are the primary reasons why we thought of having an office in Chennai, and this is our head office.
And hopefully that decision has proved right for you.
Yeah, it has. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senthil, coming back to you, supply chain is a very crucial issue. Large manufacturing industries rely on a robust global supply chain. As a result of lessons learned on supply chain disruptions and cost volatility during the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine conflict, manufacturing industries globally aim to build resilient supply chains. What are your plans to ensure an efficient and stable supply chain, and whether you have any plans in greening your supply chains?
Yeah, I think, I'll give you some scale of our local content. Back in 2018, I would say like 30 to 35% of our raw materials were sourced within the country, with 70% dependency on either products coming in from UK or European region or from China as a raw material. Today, we just reverse the scenario. About 70% of our material costs are locally sourced. So that's the number one thing. And the COVID really helped. We really couldn't get access to parts like electronics and chips. And we had the big, issue, coming from China, shutting down, and in almost 4 weeks not having any parts was a serious issue to our business. So this really drove our decisions to localize more. So today we are almost about 70-75% localized, and we are trying to improve this or increase this further. So that also helps, quicker delivery to our customers. So that's one of the key objectives, and which we almost delivered. The other areas, we also look at, again, how do we evaluate the suppliers in India, which is a big challenge again. We have a lot of these, evaluation criteria, which most of the smaller suppliers try to, struggle to achieve. So we are trying to onboard them and, to get the right cost. We are trying to handhold and, develop these suppliers. We try to get them to the minimum level of ESG requirements, the EHS. 25% of suppliers have got OSHAs, the 14,001, 45,001 certifications. Our end users don't ask for it, but we are insisting that our suppliers in India also are able to bring their EHS standards, to a good level. And certification is one of the ways that we are trying to, hold them up. And on the other side, greening the supply chain is another important aspect. As I told you how important the scope 2 and scope 3. This comes under the scope 3 reduction. Localizing really helps us, to reduce the logistics cost and the transport and the emissions coming out of, all the logistics. We're also discussing with DHL, on their Green Plus program. They're using biofuels to really transport their ships and cargoes. We are talking about, entering into contracts with such companies who will use biofuels to reduce emissions. And also we're going solar. Like, India, the Chennai plant we've got is the first plant across the Rotork manufacturing sites, having, 1/5 of the operating power coming from solar plants. So we got a rooftop solar. We invested in 2016. And now the other sites across Rotork is also trying to do that. So we've got a number of, areas that we're working on, but, the supplier ESG or supplier net carbon, emission reduction is one of the challenges we have right now, because end users are not insisting for it. When we really drive this, the cost goes up, and we are absorbing the cost because we're having a technology and generally a good margin. We are trying to compensate for some of the, the cost elements going up. So as a company, as I said, we have a strong focus, and, I think, next 5 to 6 years, we will have our supplies, getting to the level we are right now today, and we'll get into that journey.
Okay, thank you, Senthil. It's been a very interesting discussion, but in the interest of time, we will have to wrap up. Thank you for your time, views, and input. This has been very helpful, especially when we are looking and starting the business planning process. Your inputs would be very useful as we draw up the strategies for the sector. The DBT team will be very happy to help you in terms of trade, investment, and forging technology partnerships between India and the UK. May I now request Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, Minister of State, Prime Minister's Special Representative on Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict, to make the concluding remarks.
Well, first of all, Sridevi and Senthil, thank you both. You're disappearing to the back there. You should be at the front. You were very much providing the insights on why Britain and why here in Tamil Nadu. I think we've seen from your discourse just now about the real vitality between our two nations and indeed two countries, but also companies as well. From the UK's perspective, we've recently announced the new Advanced Manufacturing Plan, which gives the underlying basis, including financing, on addressing some of the issues you just talked about, barriers to trade, supply chain resilience. I think those things are extremely important, and I think we will remain focused. But your insights and practical insights help us in determining how we can actually push forward some of these areas. I often joke about one of the key areas we've seen India promote is the whole concept of Make in India. As someone of heritage from this part of the world, I always say I've got a bit of Make in India in myself, and that's very true of many people across the UK. But I think again you've demonstrated why Tamil Nadu. I think Sridevi again highlighted the issue of the things companies look for, good infrastructure, access, you talked about ports as well, but also the regulatory framework. And certainly in the brief meetings I've had during the course of my morning since arriving at dawn, it's very clear to me of the high ambition of the Tamil Nadu government as well on pushing forward further reforms, increasing accessibility, and also investing in people. And I think that's a vital element. The final thing I just wanted to say was about, you mentioned climate and growth. We're collaborating at a sort of nationwide level with India on more in the area of climate. But clearly there's more to be done at a state level as well. As we pursue net zero, it's in the interest of all of us. But I would also request you both to also make that case more effectively. People still don't realize. They think it's some faraway fantasy, which perhaps people haven't realized, but it's dawning as a reality on us all. So I think a greater focus on that will be really key as we take this forward. And finally, Sridevi, you talked about, talking about how we can take visions and take things forward, about change. And we've seen change happening here in Tamil Nadu, but also in the UK. It may surprise some people here that we are now the 8th leading manufacturing nation. So the days of the past have been again revitalized in a new form of manufacturing base. But whether it's for the private sector or for the government, you talked about change. And I end with a quote, if I may, that ultimately it's on all of us to effect that change. Indeed, it was Mohandas Mahatma Gandhi ji who said we must become the change we wish to see in the world. So let's make that change happen in the United Kingdom, in India, in Tamil Nadu. And you both have demonstrated how you are key and pivotal, and all the other companies represented here in terms of making that change so effective. Thank you to you both, and thank you to everyone who's joined us here this afternoon.